Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 pitfalls that you need to avoid so you don't waste time and money on AI tools. I know this because I've just come out of a workshop where we did an AI roundtable with business leaders. Plus, I've seen this many times in my 30-year IT career. This problem is not new, but what you need to do is take note of these 5 pitfalls, starting with number 1. The first pitfall is that most people don't lack AI tools, you lack clarity about what problem you're solving. More often than not, you start working on an AI project, there's pilots, there's prototypes, and it quickly becomes noise. The reason for that is because you're not starting with a problem. I was working with a client the other day trying to reduce their financial close. They introduced AI to streamline the process. Several months later, they still had the same duration of their financial close. It hadn't reduced. This is because they're not focusing on the right problem. Can you improve the process in the first place? Are you saving time, reducing cost, or reducing risk? If you're not growing revenue, saving time, reducing cost, then you're focusing on the wrong problem. If it does do those things, that's the right AI project to start with. Pitfall number 2 is you need to find the friction, not the technology. So you've bought AI and then you apply it to a process. Problem is, you might not end up with a good result. I saw this firsthand when working with a client who'd already bought some AI tools and a chatbot because all their competitors were doing it. The problem is that their leads were not being followed up, some taking 3 or more days to follow up on leads. The follow-up was the problem, not the actual chatbot itself. So you need to pick the right friction point in your process, then apply the AI. So when you're looking at your problem to be solved, find out where there's friction, where do approvals take a long time, what's repetitive, where do you have to import data over and over again, what are people complaining about? Start with those friction points before you apply the AI technology. Once you've found the friction, you then move on to pitfall number 3, which is mapping the process before you automate it. So I'm going to tell you this. A bad process automated is still a bad process. Just because you apply AI doesn't mean you're going to automatically fix the process. I see this over and over again. For example, I was working with a client on document processing. They had 3 manual sign-offs. Automating those manual sign-offs just means you get exponentially more sign-offs and more delays. So streamline the process before you automate it and apply AI. The best way to do that is mapping. I love a good process mapping. Just get your team in a room or on a virtual whiteboard and start mapping out the process. Where does it start? Where does it finish? What are all the steps involved? The inputs, outputs. Once you get clarity on a process, you then can streamline it. Then you can make sure it flows quickly and well because you don't want to automate a bad process. Pitfall number 4. This is where you found that friction to fix. You know which tool to apply. Now you need to pick it based on all the other problems you could solve. How do you make sure you pick the right one? You're going to have lots of friction points. Here's where I love a really simple matrix of value, complexity, and more importantly, confidence. How confident are you in delivering a solution? I've seen many cases of clients, they pick an AI tool and they want to solve a really complex problem like predictive analytics or predictive maintenance. This gets very difficult very quickly and you often struggle to prove that return on investment. So start with a problem that has high value, is ideally low complex, but can be high complexity as long as you have high confidence in delivery. So high value, can be complex, but high confidence. Those are your friction problems to solve, and that's where you're going to get the best wins first. Pitfall number 5, and this is a big one. You need to take note of this. The biggest pitfall I see is you don't decide the return on investment or measure the return on investment before you start the project. I've seen too many clients run major projects 3, 4, 5 months in, and they've saved time, but how much on the baseline? You've saved 6 days of effort, but 6 days on what? So you need to measure that baseline to track your improvements. And I get it. It's difficult to do because you are then held accountable to actually tracking and measuring the return on investment or the benefit you've found. So what do you do first? Make sure you measure the baseline. How long does this close process take now? How long does it take to create approvals? How much is it costing us to follow up on leads? Know that baseline. Then you can apply the AI to streamline and fix and speed up the process. Then you can measure that cost and benefit again. Then you know how much time you've saved. That's how you measure the ROI, and that's how you avoid pitfall number 5. So there you have it, my 5 AI pitfalls that you need to avoid. It all starts with that clarity. What is the process that you're going to fix? Where are the friction points? And then measure the ROI up front and then also after you've delivered. That's when you pick the AI tools that are going to give you the best success. Remember, start small, win early, and scale what works. A bad process automated is still a bad process. Now, if you want my 5-step AI delivery roadmap, just comment ROI below and I'll send you a copy. Until the next time, to your success.